This is a question more towards you, Steve, and then Angela, if you'd like to answer, of course, as well. But how do I determine the right amount of calories for my long run days versus my day-to-day training runs?
It's more about fueling your metabolism versus counting calories, right? So it's the consistency of having the right amount of that carb, fat, and protein consistently throughout the day will actually start to build the glycogen stores in a way where your runs are going to be more productive consistently throughout the week. And that could actually transition to onboard fueling versus, feeling more as a lifestyle is really kind of what I would refer it to. So I often would say it's, on MetPro, by the way, you're not even really aware of how many calories you're on, right? Because a calorie is not a calorie. You can't just, there's a different amount of calories or a different type of calories between a Twinkie and also, oatmeal, right? So anyway, it's more about the quality of those calories, the consistency that's going to make a difference. And with your coach is where we end up determining what is the right amount of that carb, that fat, and that protein that would really drive it. And of course, that equates into calories for sure.
Steve is exactly right. That's it. I think you touched on something that is important from a behavioral standpoint to understand when you're trying to answer that question. Everybody intuitively knows the answer to that question is it depends. It depends on your body, whether or not you're recovering in an adequate fashion to go back and do your running the next day and perform. But along that journey of answering that question, you need to have a strong priority hierarchy. And most people get that wrong. So here are the three things you're looking at. You're looking at your daily intake. You're looking at your intra-training fuel, if that's appropriate to you. So if you're a higher level athlete, you're at the point where you're running for an hour, hour and a half, and much beyond, then you need to start look at intra-training fuel. And then you have additional recovery fuel for days where you have particularly long runs. Most people focus on them in the absolute reverse order from how they should think of it. Most people focus on the recovery fuel. Oh, I got to get my post-workout. That's great to get that, but you're doing it out of order if you're starting there. Then they look at the intra-training fuel. Oh, I got my goo packs or I got my sports drinks with me. And then the last one they look at is having the consistent base meal plan throughout the day. So it's kind of like you have all the little details. Now, if you could just get the main plot right, we'd be onto something. So I always tell my clients, start by getting your base meal plan. So, that's going to be a minimum of 4 meals a day. Now, more advanced athletes, that could ramp up to 5, 6, or more in some cases. But have a dependable, I know I'm getting this for breakfast. I know I'm getting these snacks. I know I'm getting this for lunch. And this is my strategy for dinner. Once those are in place, then the next thing to look at is what is your lever? Well, now you're going to the intra-training fuel as that lever. So we know that if you're running this amount of time, you're automatically going to be getting X amount of grams of carbohydrates in addition to whatever your base was. And that takes care of it for a lot of people. Then if we need to specialize even more, then we talk about a post-workout recovery meal, which, by the way, if you're eating frequently enough, it's already built in, because you got another meal or snack coming around the corner within the next few minutes. But at the higher levels, then that's what we're going to want to look at. Yes, the right amount of post-workout recovery. Again, assuming performance is going well, your body composition and weight is where we want it, and we're in the training cycle where we're trying to push more performance, or we look at things a little different if you're in the training cycle where you're trying to adjust your weight.
Yeah, I will say this too, Angelo, that made a huge difference for me. I was able to all of a sudden go out for about an hour and a half and not think about, I call it onboard fueling, and you're saying the same thing, and not have to worry about that. I built those glycogen stores up to the point where I can run fasted in the mornings. I'm not feeling like it's it, but they're there from the course of my day-to-day intake, in terms of that. One interesting, I can get nerdy. I don't do it very often, but it's interesting. So this was a big aha moment for me. So in the marathon distance, it would take about 3,000 to 3,100 calories to complete that distance for most people in average, fitness range, et cetera. Your body, though, can only hold about 2,200 calories. hence the gap, hence the wall, and we can talk about that. But you have to be super intentional on building those glycogen stores to the point where you're actually able to hit the start line with at least 22, or trying to get to that time frame. Because if you can get to that max level of that glycogen stores, performance gains are going to be able to happen with that, and you're not going to crash, et cetera, you know, in terms of that. And then you start looking at onboard fueling, the frequency that you have there and what you need there. And even the concept, which is a different training aspect, but trying to burn fat for fuel, because your body is like a little hybrid car, and it can burn fat if you're pushing at the right level, and that's where you're able to break through any kind of wall, any kind of stereo. And so anyway, so to me, that was like a big deal. And that's your day-to-day fueling that is critical to make that happen.